Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Kinzer.
And I am Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Dote, how you doing today?
I am doing absolutely fantastic.
You're looking absolutely marvelous. And remember, it's not how you look, it's how you feel. But you look marvelous. Let's have a great show, Dote. Last week we talked about unnecessary fees that people be paying, and we got a lot of responses from people. Though a lot of people was into that and said they were thankful for the show because there's a lot of different fees they didn't think about that they're going to end up saving money, which they can also be able to use to either build the emergency fund or they could possibly use to invest. So, like we always say, my wonderful people, make sure you go out there on when you're on Facebook Live to click on the like button and the heart, because that gives us opportunity to reach more people. That's how Facebook works. And if you're on YouTube, please click on the subscribe button, and that way we can get way more people to watch, because that's how Facebook and YouTube work, the numbers. But this is our 40th show, Dope. Can you believe that?
Wow. Doesn't seem like that many.
Oh, God, man. We've been rolling, man, and we've been dropping it like it's hot. There's been a lot of information. We've talked from taxes to retirement to burial expenses. We've covered a whole lot, Dope.
Yes,
what do you think was your best show? Which one did you like the best?
I just like talking about money and for ways for people to save money. I think last week's show, I'm a real stickler when it comes to paying fees. I pay a minimum amount of fees on anything. And as we said last week, a lot of times you just got to ask. And a lot of times those fees will be waived. So that's what I enjoy talking about. Saving money. That's any topic saving money is good with me.
Yeah. My favorite one was about credit generally, credit cards and credit scores.
Okay.
So but today, last week was very interesting. But this week, we're going to be talking about electric cars, and not just about electric cars. Should you own the car? But we'll talk about should you buy the stock. But the tricky part is I left that question open because a lot of people was responding to our promo to say, what about both, Bob? And actually, that was our little trick that we're going to lead you. You can do both, one or another. But it's a lot of information to know. And I know a lot of people will probably say, I'm not thinking about no electric car. But this information this week is important because it's not just that by the way, whether you know it or not, you are. We're going to electric cars. And whether you buy them now or buy them later, but there's also an opportunity because there's a whole lot of different things involving the stocks. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Dope, let's talk about our favorite subject, the stock market.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. If you just look at from last week to this week, things have been relatively flat. Even though within the week, there has been a lot of volatility. The Dow started the week at 33.5, ended this week at 33.8. NASDAQ's about flat. It's 13.5 to 13.6. Even the few little stocks I own, Microsoft, 293 or 296. Tesla's the only holding I have that made a big move. It was 795 last week, and it closed today at 839. That's up 44 points. And, a little while ago, it was up 1,100. I mean, fortunately, I bought this stock at 500 and something. So I'm still doing okay, but still expecting it to do very well. Apple's hung in there from 162 to 166. And my Pfizer made a little bit of move. It went from 46.44 to 47.83. So we're going to keep seeing this volatility in the market until things settle down in Europe. And until people comprehend what the Fed's going to do as far as interest rates, which is predicated on what's happening inflation-wise. So as we always say, you hang tough during these times. You don't panic. You don't sell when the market's going down. You just kind of let things happen. This too shall pass. How about our cryptos? Is we doing any good there, Bob?
Well, actually, so it's pretty interesting about the crypto. It was rebounding really good, but then it went down again. But last week, Bitcoin was at $38,378. As of 6 o'clock today, it was at 42,658. So yes, it is doing better, but it's been so up and down. You know, one day it's up, next day it's down, and I guess that's cryptocurrency. But like last week, the market cap, and that's what you look at with dealing with cryptocurrencies, not just the price, but you look at the market cap and the and the what is it called, the supply. That's the two things you should look at. And last week, the whole cryptocurrency market was at 1.78 million. This week is up to 1.96 million. So that means people are getting back in, though. And Bitcoin is still the number one currency out of the 15,000 cryptocurrencies that are out there. And it's at one time it had a market cap of $1 trillion, and it was down last week to 723 billion. But as of today at 6 p.m., it was a market cap of 808 billion. So that shows you that, you know, people are getting back in. And we usually talk about Shiba Inu just because that's just one of the pick, and that's one of the popular ones. There's so many other ones we could talk about, but we just track Shiba. And Shiba, as you know, last week is at 0.00023, and believe it or not, this week is at 0.00025. So it's been slowly creeping up, and but it's been holding at the number 14 spot, but it's been up, and I mean that has really been fluctuating the Shiba. Though my stocks, we're going to be talking about the superchargers for electric cars. And I was looking at one stock called OZAP Energy Solutions, which is stock symbol is OZSC, and it's like something at like 2 cents a share or something down like that, but it's up 6%, which is pretty good. Last week it was up 4.4%. So it's climbing.
What's their product?
Say it again.
What is their product?
It's superchargers.
Oh, for cars. Okay.
For electric cars, yeah, the battery. They do the battery and the supercharged batteries though.
Okay.
And there's several of them coming. We're going to talk about that. And my GE stock has been taking a beating, but it's holding. And I've been looking at Ford stock, though, and Ford stock is at $70.60. I got a question for you, though. Do you know that there's only 2 car companies in America that has never filed for bankruptcy? Do you have an idea what the 2 are?
I know Ford's one, because I know GM and Chrysler did.
Yep.
Who's the other?
I thought you would get that. Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty obvious, though, right?
Right.
But yeah, though, let's start talking about the price, how the price of gas is going up.
Yeah, price of gas going crazy, and that's I think that's actually pushing some people to start to look at the EV market, and also this desire to go green and help the environment. But we got a report from Fidelity that talks about how the EV revolution is going strong. If you think about this for a minute, in 2012, 130 electric car vehicles were sold worldwide, 130,000. You fast forward 10 years, they sell that many in a week. That's how many are sold in a week. In 2021, 6.6 million electric cars were sold in the world. And that's 3 times more than 2019. So, if you think about how the EV market share is growing, it's mind-boggling how fast this is happening, this is going on. And again, there's a lot of reasons. Gas, these cars that are coming out are, a lot of them are luxury models. They're very, very fast, technological marvels. But not only do you have like the Teslas of the world that everybody's heard about, but a lot of the major automakers are starting to put these electric vehicles into their lineups. It's I mean, BMW, Honda, GM, Ford, Mercedes, Toyota, Hyundai. They're all starting. Volkswagen, they have one out, and of course Porsche. And there's a bunch of new companies, and that's the really crazy part. Because if you look at Tesla and look at their market cap, it's like $900 billion. That's crazy. And they aren't mass producing yet. And there's another company, Rivian, and it made news about in late 2021 with this IPO, and now it's valued at $14 billion. And they haven't made a car yet. They haven't put a car on the market yet. So a lot of that is speculative. And then you got another company, Lucid, which makes a luxury model. And they're the first ones to actually have a range of over 500 miles, which is, everybody else is somewhere in the 200 to 300, but they're over 500. Now the car costs like 150,000, but with scale, battery prices as batteries start getting produced a whole lot more, and these companies start producing in a mass production way, the price of these cars are going to come down. And so it's not just these new companies like GM, for example. They're saying they will not make any gasoline engines after 2035. Now you think about that. That's pretty soon. That's 13 years from now. They won't make any combustion engine gases. That's combustion gas engine cars. You think about that, you say, yep. So what are they going to be making? They're going to be making electric vehicles. Ford, they use, now back to GM. GM makes their own batteries, which is the same thing Tesla does. And they think that gives them an advantage. Well, Ford using an external supplier for their battery. And what Ford's doing, they just decided to split into two separate companies. One for the gas engines, and another company for the electric vehicles. And what they're saying is, we want the electric folks to focus on making electric vehicles, and that's probably where they're going to be long term. They've had some success with their Mustang. I don't know why they named it the same as their top selling car, but they must have a reason.
Branding.
Yeah, they got the Mustang
name.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but
no, this chart right here.
That's okay. That's showing the market share, which this is a really telling chart. If you look at the bars represent registrations worldwide. So you see it goes up to about, that's that 6.4 million I talk about.
Yes, yeah, the number of cars.
Yes, registrations. But if you look at the yellow line, that's representing the global market share of electric vehicles. And so you can see it was practically zero in 2010, and it's up to almost 9% now. And if you look at that from 2020 to 2021, that's a crazy increase. And it's only going to get faster, and a lot more cars are going to be electric. So as Bob said, it's not so much if, but it's more like when.
Hey, Doug, I like to bring people's attention to the bar graph far right for 2021. At the top is the dark blue, and that's showing Europe's, which is a big percentage of the cars that's been made. And then the green one, the next big solid one, is the green one, and it's China. But if you look at the little one in the middle, the little sky blue is America. But China and Europe they've taken off.
Well,
electric cars.
You lived over there. You know how much gas costs over there compared to here.
Yes.
Gas is extremely expensive there. And so if I was in Europe paying, $12 a gallon for gas, I'd be looking at an electric car also. Now, China, I don't know why they're so heavy into that, but they are.
You said who?
China. China is the biggest user.
Well, look at this particular slide here, though, in red. 2019, China accounts for 80% of the world's raw materials for batteries. So they have a large share of the ones that produce the lithium batteries. So maybe that could be why.
Well, see, with GM, that's why I think they will have a competitive advantage in making their own.
Right.
At 80% of the batteries coming from China. I would not want to be doing business with China. That's just me personally, only because they can turn on a dime, and change their mind about something, and then you're kind of stuck, Yeah,
and dope. So this chart shows the 10 largest electric car makers by market cap, and this is these are companies that only produce electric cars. You got Tesla, which is coming out of Texas. You got 4 companies coming out of California, and a lot of people been hearing about Lucid. I know a person that bought a Lucid. Look at China; they got 3 car companies, and then you got Arizona, and then you got London. But this is pretty interesting, and the reason why we're showing that because those are the stock symbols to the far right, everybody. Because we're not just talking about the car. We're talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of the car, but we're also talking about the whole electric car market as a form of possibly investing in. But I just was shocked, though, how many electric cars are out there and have been out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And some of them, like Porsche came out with the Taycan, and it's funny, they just broke the record for how much time spent charging the car on a cross-country trip from LA to New York. They spent only 2.5 hours charging during that cross-country trip. I imagine that's about 2,000 miles. So, and that's not bad, only 2.5 hours. But again, that's something we're going to talk about in a minute. It does take time to charge your car. So when we talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages, that's one of the things we'll come up with. And the last car company I want to mention is Mercedes. And they've just come out with their EQS. And their capacity is at 350 miles. But keep in mind, it's kind of like with when you see your miles per gallon. That 350, that's from fully charged to zero. Well, you're not going to drive it to its zero because you don't want to be stuck wherever you are. So it can say it's 350 miles, but it's actually not quite 350 miles.
Right.
And I don't think they always want you to charge it to full all the time either. Now that, again, I'm not an expert on that, but just be wary when you see 350 miles, you're not going to get 350 miles because it's not from full to zero. You're never going to go from full to zero.
Yeah, but so, Doe, I just in top of January, not talking about the end of January, 31st, I actually drove a Tesla with my partner. It was his Tesla, Wayne Ellis. We drove from DC to Miami. And that was about, 1,200 miles. We had to stop at approximately 6 stations, and they gave them each station. And we spent about 30 to 40 minutes at each station to charge, because we would go all the way down to almost 19 miles, left. And that's pushing it kind of close.
How long did it take, Bob? How long did it take to charge?
It took us to get from 19 to 240, I think it was, miles. It took us 30 minutes to 40 minutes.
Okay, so 6 times, that's what, 3 hours of just charging. You
Yes.
also snacking, eating.
No, but we just waited. But that was just the charge time. We didn't.
Wow.
That's purely charge. When it was finished charge, we were out of there.
Okay.
What we learned, he drove back. That was a long ride. I flew back. But what he learned, one of the moves was don't take it all the way down to 19 where you have to get a full charge. The thing is, it's when it was charging dope and it got to like 200, then it had 40 more miles to charge.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it took longer. And he found out coming back, go get a charge, or don't let it get all the way down low, and the charges were quicker. They were quicker.
Yeah, but again, that's cutting your range too. The range that's making that range a little less than. So it's more stops, right? Is it more stops? Yeah.
More stops, but you're not there as long. But that's something to talk about. But we're going to get into more of that. But the impressive thing about the electric car market, it's been resilient in the face of the global chain headwinds, right? That have impacted car makers, period, as well as the range of other business. Cars contain thousands of components, and despite supply issues across the spectrum of these components, in 2021 was a record year for electric cars, and 2022 is expected to be even better. But with that said, though,
so they weren't hit. They weren't hit with the supply chain like the cars, because a lot of people couldn't get a car.
Right.
Gas.
This is saying it was resilient through those times.
That's cool.
And with that said, there are reasons for investors to be cautious. Not only are supply chain issues causing a variety of shortages and delays of automakers, rising input prices threaten to curb margins over the near term. For instance, key battery components, including the lithium, the carbonate, and by the way, the other batteries people are using are graphite. By the way, dope, China has the largest market in graphite batteries. And nickel has also surged in the price over the past couple of years. So, of course, improvements in the battery technology has been helping bring prices down over time, partially offsetting the recent uptick in the prices. But another risk remains with the electric vehicle market, reliance on government support. We're going to talk about that. While many governments around the world are increasingly focusing on the electric vehicles infrastructures, car sellers still depend a great extent on the electric vehicle tax credits and other business-friendly policies. Just as subsidies and other governments support for oil and gas industries help support traditional gas engine market, the electric car market relies a great extent on public-private partnership. For instance, though,
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
It's so funny because whenever first of all, they cost more, but whenever you see the price for an electric car, they usually show the federal tax credit. I've seen like $7,500 that you get back on as a tax credit if you buy an electric car. That's a nice hunk of change.
Yes, but they are constantly eliminating that, by the way. But it remains, but credit, tax credit, another. So the electric car could be a great way for you as a consumer to save a lot of money on gas. However, there are so many different reasons why you should invest in an electric car. To own the car or to buy the stock, you can invest in the car maker, the battery maker, who makes the charging stations, or any other auxiliary supplier in this market. And we're gonna get into that, dope, because it's a lot of my friends. Matter of fact, my coach from Texas A&I University and the greatest person, one of the greatest reps at Nike. He was in Spain for years, in Barcelona. Rich Schubrooks just texted us and said he has a Tesla. A lot more and more of my friends got Teslas, though. And want to shout out to Melvin Little, my homeboy, and my other homeboy, Willis Wilson, who's down there in Texas too, though, in Corpus Christi, Texas. He's the athletic director at the University of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So thanks for joining us, Willis. And my wonderful job FDIC cohort, Shanita McKinney, is checking in with us. And hello to our frat brothers Rob and Clutch, and Garnett is on as always, dope.
Hey, Garnett.
So dope. let's get into this real quick, man. Let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of the electric car, whether you're buying it or owning the stock.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind with an electric car is you don't need gas. Okay, they charge by electricity you provide. One thing to bear in mind, if you charge it at home, it's way cheaper than paying to charge it at a charging station. So if you in a situation where you're only charging it at home, it's going to be much cheaper than having to charge it while you're out and about. And I think the average cost of driving a car is like, for a gas engine, is like 15 cents a mile, and it's estimated for EVs. We'll talk about this in a minute because of maintenance and obviously not paying for gas is more like a nickel. So there's a considerable savings for driving a car that's electric versus gas. And basically electricity is less expensive. And so again, if you charge your car in your home, some people are even putting solar panels on their home to charge their cars, and that can make you save even more money, and it could also power your own home. And so
I just want to add that the thing about, so we went to Miami, I told you, and we realized that going to the public superchargers was costing a lot more than if you had a charger at your house. And by the way, you all,
yeah, no question.
And by the way, people be using the 110 volt. No, you need to get a more expedient charger. You need to put in a socket of 220. That's one thing.
Hey, Bob, a funny story. Tesla buyers know this. If you tell the electrician that you need a charger for a Tesla, they charge you like $400 to put it in. But if you just call an electrician and say you need a 220 line, like you get for your dryer or washer or something like that, it only costs like 150. So
that's messed up, man.
People think because you got a Tesla, you must have money. So just be aware of that. If you get a Tesla, don't tell them you need a 220 plug for a Tesla. Tell them you just need a 220 plug. It'll be cheaper to install.
Melvin would say, what time does this show start? I hope it started, Melvin. It started at 8 o'clock. I hope for you being on here, I hope it's starting because we have a new virtual studio. So there's some technical difficulties happening. So I'm hoping you're able to get on. Like, shout out to Ron Green and Cindy Cox. Hey, Cindy, thanks for checking us out. Dope. You finished talking about the gas?
Yeah.
Okay, another advantage is more convenient. The electric car is easy to recharge. And the best part is you will no longer need to run to a fuel station to recharge your car or hit the road because, like I said, you now can get a socket and preferably the 220 volt socket at your house. So it's way more expedient and you save more money if you have it. And the thing about we learned about that trip we took, though, it cost, we stopped, like I said, 6 times, average about 30, 40 minutes. And the total cost was $112.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of did that if we did it with gas. And believe it or not, it only came out maybe we saved $40, $50.
Okay.
And I thought the savings was going to be greater, but I think it's because we're on the road. But anyway, it's more convenient.
Hey, Bob, another convenience, Porsche actually has a mat that you put in your garage and you simply drive the car over the mat and it charges your car without plugging it in. Wow. So you don't even have to get out and plug it in. You just drive your car to the spot. Now, and it's funny because, when you and I talk, we think in terms of, well, everybody has a house, everybody has a garage. And my son said, Dad, you're crazy. Most people who live in a city, a lot of them don't have a garage. A lot of them don't have any place to charge their cars. So that could be an issue, but it's just something to keep in mind. If you do have a garage, it's very convenient to charge your car at home. Unless you live in New Jersey, you don't have to get out and pump your gas anymore. So let's talk about a few savings. Very low to fuel, very low to fuel. And many cars we talked about the incentives from the government for going green. I saw $7,500. And so over your lifetime, you can save a lot of money by going green. And just talking about going green, there's another company, I don't know if we mentioned Polestar, but that's another luxury EV maker. They've gone so far as to have vegan leather or vegan imitation leather in their seats. So they are trying to go completely green. And
so hold on. What you mean vegan?
It's
made from vegetables?
It's
what the hell?
It's fake leather. Okay, it's not made with a cow. Okay.
I knew more back in school used to wear the fake leather coats, so it's sort of like that.
Everybody had a pleather coat or pleather shoes. You know, you do what you can do, my brother. You do what you can do. But anyway, so the whole going green thing is obviously getting more momentum, and some companies, as Polestar, is taking it to its full effect. You know, they're really going at it.
Yeah, that's so the emissions thing is big though, because one of the biggest challenges with electric car is this green credential. Electric cars are 100% eco-friendly as they run electric power engines, and they do not emit toxic gases. So for those people who are into the clean energy source, it's something to really consider. It's no smoke, no smoking environment. And it has advantages even over those hybrids, though, because the hybrids still run on gas and produce emissions. So you'll be contributing to a healthy green climate.
And that's one that doesn't make sense to me. I had to call my engineer cousin to get him to explain that to me about hybrids with the gas and electric. Because one of the reasons I would get an electric is to get away from all the maintenance that goes with gas cars, oil changes, tune-ups, all the moving parts in an engine that go away with electric. So to me, a hybrid is kind of like taking a half a step, even though some of the miles per gallon you see in those cars is absolutely amazing. I saw a BMW X5, which is a pretty hefty vehicle, but its hybrid gets like 76 miles to a gallon. And it's kind of interesting that the actual range, if you just go on electric, is only 30 miles. That's from charge to zero. But the way my cousin explained it to me with the hybrid, the electric part, the electric battery is automatically charging as you're driving it. So right. That's what kicks up the gas mileage. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And we always tell you, stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, but EVs are becoming so popular, and a lot of people like to have what's popular, but it is 3 times more efficient as internal combustion engines. So that's another reason to get one. And there's a whole lot of different types, even though some haven't been brought to market yet, but there are a lot of choices in all the cars that are out there and unique. And one of the things me and Bob talked about is some of the electric makers, it's kind of like Honda in that this is the car we make and this is the equipment that comes with it. So there's not a lot of customization as you can get with gas cars that are made on an assembly line that have been made for years. And so because they're in the early stages, you don't get to pick as many options as you normally would with a gas car. So another advantage, but they're very popular right now.
Plus, there's not many charging stations in the rural areas. and he's right. That's another one of the disadvantages. But though, what people don't realize, they are very safe to drive because electric cars undergo the same fitness testing procedures that test with fuel power cars. The electric car is actually safer, believe it or not, to use. And given their low center of gravity, which people don't realize this, it makes them much more suitable on the road, it makes it much more stable on the road in case of a collision. And in case of an accident occurs, one aspect of airbags to open up and electricity supply to cut from the battery. This can prevent you from other passengers in the car from serious injuries, and they are even less likely to explode in the absence of any combustible fuel and gas. I know that sounds pretty morbid, but it's a fact.
Yeah, that's one of the things you see, because all you heard about was those Teslas catching on fire, burning up.
Talking about, and it was mainly because of the batteries, but they were over. All the competitors was overhyping it because it really wasn't that many car batteries catching on fire.
Okay.
And that was you know, all the combustion cars putting that out. That was messed up.
And again, we're just trying to provide education. If you get to the tax issue, make sure you talk to a tax specialist before you start worrying about tax credits, and find out what might be available, because some states also offer tax incentives to get an electric car. So you can get credits from both, but make sure you talk to somebody who knows the ins and outs before you jump out there expecting to get this huge credit. Okay. Talk about the maintenance a little bit, Bob.
Okay. Did you talk about the cost efficiency?
Oh yeah, we talked about that before, how efficient they are.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to shout out to my brother, Dennis Jarman. What's up, Dennis? Thank you for checking this out. Dennis, I know you got an electric car by now, because you know why? Because you big money grip, and you the big player from the Himalayas. So I know you got an electric car already. But let's talk about the maintenance, Joe. The electric cars run on electrical powered engine. Henceforth, there's no need to lubricate the engine. Anything related to combustion engine or a ton of maintenance tasks, they are usually associated with gas engine. There's no carburetor. There's no spark plugs. There's no transmission. That all makes a difference. Now, the other expensive engine work is a thing of the past. Therefore, the maintenance costs of these cars have come down. You don't need to send it to the service station as often as you do for the standard gasoline powered car. And most of the maintenance is performed with downloads, though, believe it or not.
Yeah,
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and another big point that doesn't end up in your pocket, but there's no noise pollution, you know. So there's no, they're very, very quiet. And that's a positive and a negative, because a lot of times you can hear a car coming, which may, protect you from getting run over or something, but they're unbelievably quiet. And even hybrids, when they stop, you don't hear nothing. So it's very smooth drive. A lot of times they only have one gear, so there's no transmission, there's no shifting of gears. They're very smooth, very quiet. And as I said, people have all said who have one, all talked about the money they save on gas and especially maintenance.
Yeah. So a lot of so my partner, Wayne, told me the hardest part he had to get used to was when he was pulling up behind somebody and they wouldn't get out the way, like they were walking straight across him, and they didn't even hear him, and he thought they were being, butt heads, but he realized, oh man, they didn't hear my car. So that's pretty interesting. But the battery life in the car is dope. Batteries are an integral part of this vehicle, and most of them are lithium ones, and the cost is improving every year. Now, the capacity of a lithium-ion battery cell could be good for 300 to 500 cycles. So a good battery can last about up to 10 years. And a lot of them are, they give you warranties, for actually 10-year warranties for the battery. So that is good. And the cost of these batteries is expected to come down even more.
They're pretty easy to drive. I mentioned the transmission. They just got one gear, so you ain't shifting gears. Obviously, there's no need for a clutch, and it's just a lot less moving parts. And another really neat feature, again, this is on the Go Green side, is that when a gas car generates power from braking, that's all just lost. Okay, it's just basically power lost. But in an electric car, that same energy to stop the car is used to charge the batteries. So the Go Green people eat that part up. That's another advantage.
That's good. And, considering the demand for oil will only be going up as supplies run out, the electric car will mostly be the normal mode of transportation in the coming future. Companies like Nissan and Tesla offer great electric models and outstanding amount of benefits for people who decide to invest. And the savings, could be a huge savings for your family. And the environmental impact of the electric car is zero. Well, that's what they say. The carbon print is positive. It's really positively affecting the economy. So more people are reducing the carbon footprint. Is a lot of people are being conscious of these days. And with that, you can. But no, let's get into the disadvantages right quick. Let's run through those.
There's a few recharging points. You said you didn't have any trouble, but if I was to drive to my home in Cleveland, I'd be a little leery of driving through West Virginia with looking for stations. Now, Tesla, being a technological marvel that it is, it shows you where all the stations are, so you can pretty much plan your trips. And one thing I found interesting is that there's not like a charging station. You would think you could go take any car into a charging station. No, but Tesla has their own. Porsche decided to not partner with Tesla, so they have their own charging stations. And so you'd have to make sure that where you stop can actually handle your car. You would think long term they would try to find some way to universally, it's a charging station that would handle every car, but it's not right now. And so until they get more widespread, you got to make sure you have that mapped out when you decide to leave, because that you wouldn't want to be stuck. I remember when Teslas first came out, George Clooney kept getting stuck in his car with the battery zero, and pretty high profile guy. They got a lot of bad press. So they have worked on that.
Well, two things though. The infrastructure bill that President Biden, it has a whole, I think it allotted about $16 billion to the infrastructure for electric cars to try to alleviate that problem of being able to charge your car with the superchargers. Because that's the thing with Tesla, which was pretty smart. When we were on the road though, Tesla, you can only charge a Tesla on a Tesla charging bay. And so when we pulled in, they were always maybe 10, sometimes 15 charging bays. So you never had a problem pulling in, having to open charging bay. But when we looked at the other, private car chargers, they might just have like maybe 4 sometimes, maybe 6, but mostly we saw maybe 4 or even 2, and they were always full. So that's the thing you had to be. But the infrastructure bill actually really might help that. But another thing though is, my man Rodney Madison said, are y'all speaking by experience or y'all being owners of electric vehicles?
No, I don't own one. And again, I'm until the range gets over 500 for me. And a car like the car I told you that's over 500 now, I think it's about 160,000 or something like that, until it get at a reasonable price and I can pick the options that I want. I wouldn't consider electric car. Now that, again, this is personal. It's just like picking stocks. Everybody has a different view on it. But we're talking about this subject because it's so hot right now. And one of our things we try to do is talk about ways or markets that present opportunities for investing. And this is a market that's growing very, very fast with lots of opportunities for investments in car companies, in battery companies, and charging station companies, and all the other suppliers that will take part in this market. This is a market that's going to be growing like crazy over the next few years. So that's why we're talking about it. Definitely not from experience. I have never owned an electric car, and I have no intention to buy one in the very near future.
Yeah, that's interesting because Dennis Jarman says he hasn't bought. Remember I talked about, I know he probably bought the car, and he said he hasn't, but he actually had bought He's got 3 electric vehicle stocks, but he said he's also waiting for it to get up to 300 and 400 miles to drive to a battery charge, and he wants more charging stations. And so with me though, I have a car and I'm getting ready. Getting ready to pay it off. So my thought was, man, if I pay this car off, then I won't have no note. Now, if I was in the middle of my note, I might have thought about trading it in and getting an electric car. But not having a note for me, it might be my driving force. But I'm also like you, though. I drive a car. I like to have way more miles. But remember, so this show is really giving you the advantage and disadvantage about electric cars. And we're not favoring one or the other, but we want to definitely let you know, as also and as investing, this is the kind of stocks you want to get into. Because like the OZOP stock I told you all about, it's like about 3 cents. If you put $1,000 in, that's 27,000 shares. So, that's how it works. We're not favoring either one. We're just trying to provide y'all with information. The next thing I want to talk about real quick, we need to go down this real quick. Some are more than disadvantages. The initial investment is steep. It's the cost is between $30,000 and $40,000. They got different brands now, like the 3, the Y, and the S model. The S model is around about $80,000. It goes up from there, but they average around between $30,000 to $40,000, and it could be $10,000 to $50,000 more than a regular car. So we know the price can be getting up there, and it might be a little bit steep for some people.
Yeah, and electricity not free. So I mean, don't think it's totally free. It's going to affect your home bill if you're charged at home, and you're going to pay if you charge in outside of your home. And some cities, I know one particularly in Ohio, had free charging stations, and they just started charging because they're going to have to replace them one day, and they want to have the money available to do that. So it's not free. It's cheap, but it's not free.
And the other disadvantage, though, we talked about the short driving range, because it could be anywhere from 50 to 200 miles. Right now, like you said, Mercedes-Benz probably got the highest at 350 miles. That's the highest.
No, that Lucid over 500 is the longest. It's the biggest.
Oh, the Lucid. Oh, wait a minute. That's right, dude. I forgot.
Over 500.
Whoa, the Lucid.
Yeah, but you got 160 sitting around to go buy one, right?
That's all it costs?
Oh, you might get 2. Get isn't her.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the little model. You remember the model cars? That's what I'm.
Okay, we talked about the range. We talked about the recharge time, and I'm an impatient guy. That would drive me crazy, having to sit around and wait for my car to recharge. So that's another turnoff for me. I expect the quick chargers to become more prevalent, and I expect technology to get a lot better. That'll help cut that time down.
Yeah. Yep. So the last one, though, is we talked about the government. Some governments do not provide money-saving initiatives to encourage you to buy an electric car. Just because there's a variety of factors doesn't mean that they have to be overwhelming. Doing a fair bit of research into different models and maybe even hybrids will help you make an accurate decision moving forward. However, no matter how you look at it, electric car can save our precious environment. That is a definitely fact, though. So whether you want to buy the car or buy the stock, that's on you. But that's our whole story on electric cars. Let's do a quick recap of what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
So we just want y'all to know, whether you believe it or not, electric cars are here to stay. We showed you the chart. They only look, we showed the chart. It's only increasing. It's going up and up. So electric cars are here to stay.
Yeah, and prices are going to come down as these companies get more scale, as they start increasing production. the prices will come down. That's another reason I'm waiting, because they are going to be much, much cheaper once they're producing on a mass scale.
The other thing is all electric car automakers, they will not survive. As we showed you, there's plenty out there. So consider where you are in the market you want to be. Consider where in the market you want to be if you want to invest.
And as we always tell you, whether you buy the car or buy the stock, you got to do your research. You got to look into it. You got to make sure if you buy the car that it fits what you're trying to do. Talk to somebody who has one. Make sure you understand all the ins and outs before you either buy the car. And if you're going to buy stock in any market related to this, do your research, find out about the company, make sure it's going to be around for the long term and it's going to make you money.
Hey, dope. Maddie Ford asked the question. She said, how much money do I have to put down to invest if I wanted to invest in the electric car stock?
You can go on some of these apps and you can invest at $100. And now Tesla's selling for $800. So you invested in $100, you're buying a very, very small piece of Tesla. But you can invest in any, with some of these Robinhoods and E-Trades and some of these apps, you can buy stocks for $100. You can buy shares and you can invest monthly. You can buy, we talked before about buying sector funds. I'm sure there's a sector fund that has electric vehicles. And again, you can go in there for $50 or $100 or very, very small amounts and just contribute, consistently contribute until that builds up. So any you can always invest any amount.
But this is the key, Maddie, we always talk about. It's about actually determining how much that you have that you can put into the market. It's not something that you should be relying on and needing in the next 2 or 3 years. It should be something that you are willing to be able to lose. And not that you're going into it to lose it, but it should be. So it really depends on, once you think about doing your budget and seeing how much salary income that you have after you pay all your bills and have your savings account and have your emergency fund. That's normally how you determine how much you want. But like Doe said, it could be as low as $100. And if you invest it into a sector fund or index fund that is not index fund or ETF that is tied to a fund that has several electric vehicle cars in it, you can invest as low as $25 a month.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it seem like we're talking out both sides of our mouth, but we also talk about risk and reward. So some of these electric car companies are obviously very, very risky because some of them have not made a car yet. But if they do and they hit, you probably could have a big reward. But if they don't, you can lose. And one of the things we talked about a couple of weeks ago is it's not so important to try to hit that home run, but if you can hit singles, invest over time, invest consistently, you're probably going to do okay. So maybe you pick a safer play in this, or a sector market that's going to have the risk spread out over many different car companies, which will probably reduce your return, but it also will also reduce your risk. And over the long term, the most important thing you can do is be invested and not so much worrying about what you invest in, but be invested.
And the reason why we harp on investing so much as opposed to savings, because we believe in savings too, you all, because as you save money, that also gives you the ability to be able to, when opportunities come, to have the money to invest. So don't get us wrong, okay? We want you to, save your money too, but we also want you to invest. And this is why we are components of investing. Inflation is up to almost double digits. First time in 40 years. That means the purchasing power of your dollar, if it's not growing, it's losing its power. And if you want to keep pace with inflation and taxes, that's the key. You must be able to earn more with your discretionary income. Because just sitting in a savings account earning less than 1% is not going to help you create wealth. And the life expectancy is extended now from, it used to be around about 78, 80 for women, less for men. Now it's like 83 for men and 88 for women. So if you're living longer, you want to make sure that you have the money that you can live comfortably by making sure you take advantage of these opportunities to come along. And that's why we are talking today about electric cars, just as another opportunity. Not that we're favoring it, but we want to provide you with information so you make the decision. You make the decision. And don't forget our disclaimer. This is just for information purposes. And when men don't be talking about some of the things we've done, we just sharing you what we have done. And we just want to make it clear, everybody's individual situation is unique, and you should always consult with a qualified, and notice the term qualified financial advisor. So, Dope, we had a lot of people on today, man, a lot of our friends, man. It's so great that we sharing this. So make sure y'all share this information. Now, if you click on Facebook, we should have the shows archived. We've been having an issue with the virtual studio. They dropped off. We might have to put it back in there, but it still should be out on Facebook and YouTube. This is our 40th show. All the shows are out there. We also want to remind you all, we're looking for any ideas that you want us to talk to you about. So put it in the comment box, because we want to know, some of the things that you want to talk about. We want to talk about those things too. So put them in the comment box. And sometimes just comment, period. We're looking for y'all to say, hey, we agree or we don't agree. But that's how this works. We want to make it engaging, and we want to have an interchange in conversations.
And most importantly, if you have something at work, share it with us so we can share it with other people.
And that's important, though. Share this information. That's what we do not do enough as people. Share the information with your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, your nieces, your nephews, your kids. This is all about raising all boats. It's called generational wealth. So with that, we're here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in as always. Really, really appreciate y'all, and we trying to provide more information. So we'll see you next week. Dope. Any final remarks?
Peace.
And let's hair grease and stay out of the Middle East. Okay, all right, y'all have a good one.